Chapter 1. The Threshold. The asphalt was cold. That was my first thought. Not the sulfur I'd breathed for 8 years. Not the pressure of a warden's grip on my soul. Just the wet, November cold bite of pavement against bare feet. I sat at the intersection where a drunk driver had killed me 8 years ago. The same spot where my 5-year-old body had been torn from my soul. The same spot where I'd watched my mother collapse from the ambulance window, her mouth open in a shape I didn't understand until I was old enough to know what screaming looked like from the outside. +0 points for manifesting. -50 for nearly lunging at the jogger. I suppressed the reflex. Barely. My fingers dug into the gravel beside my thigh, and I counted 1, 2, 3, until the urge to snap her neck passed. She'd startled me. A mortal, soft and pink, jogging past with her headphones, completely unaware that she'd nearly been eviscerated by a demon in toddler pajamas. That would have flagged my location. I can't afford to be found. I was 5 years old again. The same age I died. The same tiny hands, the same weak legs, the same traitor body that couldn't open doors or reach light switches or defend itself against anything larger than a particularly aggressive house cat. I hadn't been sent back. I had torn a hole in the fabric of the pit and crawled through, leaving a trail of reality scars behind me. I'd stumbled into the only time-space coordinate that still held a piece of my tether. +5 for not screaming at the sheer absurdity of the vessel. The sun was setting. September 1995. I knew the date because I'd counted every day of the 8 years I'd spent in the pit, and I'd emerged precisely where I'd left from. Same time. Same place. Different soul. A station wagon rattled past. The driver slowed, squinted at me. I forced my eyes wide, let my lower lip tremble. It wasn't hard. I was exhausted. My 5-year-old body was already screaming from the transition. Muscles I hadn't used in centuries, lungs that remembered how to burn, a heart that beat too fast and too weak. Pathetic. I've killed things that could unmake galaxies, and I'm struggling to sit upright. The car stopped. A woman in a beige cardigan stepped out. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" I opened my mouth. The words came out in a reedy, broken whisper. "I want my mommy." Inside, I was already mapping her carotid artery, noting the way she stood off balance, the angle of her hips, the distance to the nearest mailbox I could use as a weapon. Old habits. Hell didn't teach you trust. It taught you angles. +50 for deceptive compliance. I hated that it worked. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Someone had mopped the floor recently, but the chemical cleaner only mixed with the sweat and fear until the air tasted like a memory I didn't want to revisit. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, a sound that grated against my skull like sandpaper. In hell, the lights didn't buzz. They screamed. I sat on a sticky vinyl chair, my legs dangling, barely reaching the floor. My feet were still bare, black with grime. Someone had draped a blanket over my shoulders, but I hadn't asked for it. I'd learned not to ask for things. Asking was weakness. Weakness was exploited. An officer crouched in front of me. His name tag read, Morales. He had kind eyes. I didn't trust him. "Can you tell me your name, buddy?" I practiced the stutter twice in my head before letting it out. Tommy. Tommy. That's a good name. "Do you know your last name?" I did. But I couldn't say it. If I gave them too much, they'd dig deeper, and if they dug deep enough, they'd find the scar in reality I'd left behind. I wasn't ready to see her face. I wasn't ready to hear her voice. I'd spent 8 years forgetting the sound of her crying, and now I was about to drown in it. "Tommy," I whispered. "Just Tommy." +50 for not telling him to go fuck himself. A female officer brought me a juice box. She smiled, crouched to my level, and held it out like she was offering a peace treaty. I stared at the straw wrapper with genuine hatred. My fingers were too small. The plastic seal was too tight. I tried to pierce it, failed, tried again, and felt the hot flush of humiliation crawl up my neck. I've torn the throats out of wardens. I've crawled through rivers of fire. I cannot open a juice box. I need help, I said. The words tasted like ash. She opened it for me. I drank. The juice was apple-flavored, too sweet, and I wanted to cry. Not from gratitude. From the sheer, suffocating indignity of being 5 years old again, dependent on the kindness of mortals who would never understand what I'd become. Plus 100 for not stabbing her with the straw. She arrived at 9:47 p.m. I know because I'd been counting the minutes on the wall clock, memorizing the way the second hand jerked forward with each tick. I'd catalogued every exit, every potential weapon, every face in the room. The smell hit me first. Cheap vanilla lotion. Hairspray. The faint undertone of cigarette smoke. It was the same smell I'd carried into death, the last sensory memory I'd had before the fire took everything. Susan Rourke. Mother of 2. A widow, from a marriage that never recovered from the loss of a child. I looked up. She was smaller than I remembered. Grayer. The lines around her eyes had deepened into permanent grooves. She saw me. The sound she made wasn't a word. It was something older, more primal, the noise a mother makes when she finds what she thought she'd buried. She crossed the room in 4 steps. I had time to run. My body locked. Every muscle tensed. The survival instinct screamed at me to move, to fight, to flee, anything but let her hold me. Plus 200 for not flinching. Plus 500 for letting her win. I slumped forward. Her arms closed around me, and I buried my face in her neck. She was shaking, crying. Her hand cradled the back of my head like I was made of glass, and she whispered my name over and over, like a prayer. I'm not your baby anymore. I haven't been your baby for a long time. But I didn't say it. I let her hold me. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep, and I counted her heartbeat against my cheek. Fast. Irregular. Strained. She's a liability. She's a target. If I stay small, if I stay quiet, maybe they won't look down. Maybe I can hide in the cracks of this life. Plus 300 for the lullaby. The house looked smaller than I remembered. It was a 2-story wooden structure, painted a faded cream color. The porch light was on. A silhouette stood in the frame, arms crossed, waiting. Sarah. 13. Grunge flannel, ripped jeans, a scowl that she'd probably been perfecting since the day I died. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just stared at me with her mother's eyes and her father's jaw, and I knew that she saw something wrong. Threat detected. Not hostile. Yet. But she's watching. Susan carried me across the threshold. The hallway was exactly as I remembered. The same faded wallpaper, the same family photos that had stopped at 1987. My bedroom door was open. She laid me on the mattress. She pulled the blanket up to my chin, tucking the edges tight around my shoulders like she was sealing me into a cocoon. Plus 5 for the blanket. Plus 10 for the tucking. Plus 300 for not screaming. She sang. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. My throat tightened. I didn't know why. I'd stopped crying centuries ago. Tears were a luxury for souls that still had something to lose, but something in my chest was squeezing, something old and buried and angry. Stop it. Stop being kind. I can't protect you if you're kind. The latch clicked. I lay in the dark, rigid, listening to the house settle. But worse than any demon was this room. This bed. These walls that remembered a boy who had never existed. I was being cherished, and it was a cage. I was being loved, and it was a battlefield. I am 5 years old. I have broken out of hell. I am the only thing standing between this family and the darkness that follows me. And I cannot open a juice box. Footsteps in the hallway. Sarah's. They paused outside my door, and I felt her hesitation through the wood. She stood there for a long moment, breathing, considering. Then she walked away. I didn't sleep. I waited. Plus 500 for surviving the first night. The points mean nothing if I don't survive the next. The house groaned. The shadows breathed. And somewhere out there, in the dark, the hunt for a runaway was just beginning. I smiled. Welcome home, Tom. The work never ends. Chapter 2. The Weight of a Miracle. Morning light crept through the curtains like an enemy scout. I watched it from beneath half-closed lids, cataloguing angles, shadows, potential blind spots. The race car bed creaked as I shifted. My body ached, every joint and ligament that had spent the night rigid and waiting. No demons. No wardens. Just a ceiling with glow-in-the-dark stars. The door opened. Susan appeared, her hair a mess, her eyes still puffy from the night before. She smiled, that terrible, hopeful smile that made my chest tighten. Good morning, my little angel. +1 for the title. -10 for the delivery. She scooped me up before I could protest. My legs dangled. My arms hung limp. I let her carry me down the hall to the bathroom, where she deposited me on the linoleum floor with a gentle pat on the head. Do you need help, sweetie? I stared at the toilet. Porcelain gleamed under fluorescent light. The seat was up. The handle was a lever requiring actual force to depress. I have stared down demons. I have crawled through pits of burning despair. And now I am locked in a battle against a bathroom fixture. I shook my head. She hesitated, then closed the door. The handle was exactly 4 inches above my reach. I stood on my tiptoes. My fingers brushed the cold metal. I jumped, once, twice, 3 times, each landing jarring my spine. On the 4th attempt, I hooked my fingers over the lever and pulled my full body weight. The handle gave with a groan. The toilet flushed. +20 heaven points for dignity preserved. -5 for the sheer absurdity of the struggle. I caught my breath. Small victories. Breakfast was a war crime. Susan set a high chair in the kitchen. An actual high chair. With a plastic tray and straps. David stood nearby, holding a bowl of something beige and lumpy that smelled like boiled regret. Open wide for Daddy, David said, his voice pitched to a register I had not heard since the pit. I opened my mouth. The spoon entered. The texture hit my tongue, something between oatmeal and playground sand. I swallowed. My stomach revolted. +100 for not gagging. +200 for not stabbing him with the spoon. Susan dabbed a napkin against my chin. Our little miracle. He's eating again. He's home. David nodded, his eyes glistening. We got our boy back. I chewed. I swallowed. I did not scream. Sarah appeared in the doorway, dressed in a flannel shirt 2 sizes too large, her arms crossed. She watched me with the cold intensity of someone reading a text in a foreign language. I met her gaze. Held it. She looked away first. Good girl. You're learning. The cuddle trap began after breakfast. Susan carried me from room to room. The kitchen. The living room. The hallway. I was a prop, a living, breathing prop in her theater of maternal grief. She kissed my forehead every 8 seconds. She murmured phrases like, my precious boy, and God has answered our prayers, into my hair until I wanted to claw my own scalp off. David joined in. He sat me on his lap while he read the morning paper. His arm wrapped around my chest like a steel band. I could feel his heartbeat against my back. Fast, irregular, desperate. They think I'm broken. They think I need to be put back together with love and baby talk. +300 for not showing them exactly how broken I can be. The clock on the wall ticked. 10 in the morning. I had been awake for 3 hours. My body was already shutting down. Eyelids heavy, limbs leaden. The 5-year-old chassis was not designed for this level of vigilance. Susan set me on the couch and headed to the kitchen. I'm going to make pancakes. With sprinkles. For our special boy. The stove clicked. The pan hissed. The smell of batter filled the air, but beneath it, barely perceptible, something else. Metallic. Sharp. Familiar. Sulfur. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs. The room tilted. For a moment, I was back in the pit. The heat, the screams, the warden's claws dragging across stone. I saw the faces. I heard the weeping. Asterisk, they didn't find me. It's just residue. It has to be. Asterisk. I forced air into my lungs. 1 breath. 2. The sulfur faded, buried under the smell of syrup and butter. I blinked. The living room was still the living room. The glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling were still stars. Asterisk plus 500 for not screaming. Plus 500 for not running. Plus 500 for staying human. Asterisk. But my hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against the couch cushion. The stairs were a mountain. David carried me up after breakfast, but I insisted on coming down alone for my routine. The first step was easy. The second. By the 5th, my legs were burning. By the 10th, I was gripping the railing with white-knuckled intensity, my breath ragged, my vision swimming. Asterisk, I once fought through 12 circles of torment. I cannot climb a staircase. Asterisk. I paused on the landing. My heart hammered. My chest heaved. I looked down at my small, soft hands. Hands that had never held a weapon, never thrown a punch, never done anything but grip a juice box. Asterisk, I am trapped. I am weak. I am 5 years old. Asterisk. And I will not stop. I took the last step. My knees buckled. I caught myself on the wall. Susan appeared in the kitchen doorway. Tommy, are you okay? I nodded. I let my lower lip tremble. Tired, Mommy. She swept me up. Her arms were warm. Her smell was vanilla and detergent. She carried me to the couch and laid me down, covering me with a blanket that smelled like mothballs and childhood. Nap time, sweetheart. You need your rest. Asterisk plus 300 for not arguing. Plus 300 for not explaining that I have not slept in 8 years. Asterisk. She sat beside me and began to sing. The same lullaby from last night. Her voice cracked in the same place. I closed my eyes. I let the sound wash over me, each note a small blade against my soul. Asterisk, I am not safe. They are not safe. By coming home, I painted a target on every wall. Asterisk. But they are mine. And I will burn the pit to ash before I let it take them. The lullaby ended. Susan kissed my forehead. She tiptoed out. I opened my eyes. The glow-in-the-dark stars stared back. My hands were fists. Plus 300 for not screaming during the lullaby. The weight of a miracle is heavier than any chain. Chapter 3. The Snap. Morning light crept through the curtains, painting the race car bed in pale stripes. I woke with a start, my small body already aching, my mind cataloguing every sound in the house. The creak of floorboards downstairs. The distant hum of the refrigerator. The clatter of a pan in the kitchen. Asterisk, I survived the night. Barely. Asterisk. I sat up, the blankets pooling around my waist. My limbs were leaden, my fingers stiff. I forced them to move, flex, extend, flex again. A 5-year-old body is a prison of weakness. Asterisk plus 300 heaven points for waking without screaming. Plus 100 for not instinctively shattering the window when a bird thumped against the glass. Asterisk. Susan's footsteps on the stairs. Her voice, syrupy and careful. Tommy? Sweetie, are you awake? I let my eyes go wide and vacant. I whispered, Mommy, as if I were still lost. It came out as a fragile croak. Perfect. She pushed the door open. Her face was a mask of forced cheerfulness, a woman determined to pretend that her dead son was not a monster. Good morning, my little miracle. Did you sleep well? Asterisk define well. I spent 6 hours listening to the house breathe and calculating the structural integrity of the basement door. Asterisk. I had a bad dream, I said, adding a sniffle for effect. Plus 20 heaven points for emotional manipulation. She swept me into her arms. I endured the hug, counting the seconds until release. She smelled of coffee and something floral. She carried me downstairs, past the living room, into the kitchen where David sat at the table, newspaper in hand, pretending to read. The threshold of the kitchen felt like stepping onto a minefield. Everything was too bright, too warm, too safe. This is the real battle. Sarah stood in the hallway, arms crossed, wearing a faded Nirvana shirt. Her eyes were flat, assessing. She didn't speak. I met her gaze for 1 second too long. I saw her flinch. She's a problem I can't solve today. Susan carried me inside. The living room was a minefield of Afghans and throw pillows. A plastic cup sat on the coffee table, blue, with a cartoon cow printed on the side. You must be thirsty, sweetheart. Susan picked it up, filled it from a juice box, and held it to my lips. Asterisk I have held a demon lord's spine in my hands. I have broken oaths older than continents. And now I must drink from this. Asterisk. I took the cup. The plastic was smooth, the lid a simple snap-on with a spout. I brought it to my mouth. The apple juice was cold, sweet, and utterly humiliating. Thank you, Mommy, I said, in a soft, breathy voice. Asterisk plus 5 heaven points for the lie. The more I act the part, the less they look for the monster. Asterisk. Susan beamed. You're so polite, Tommy. She scooped me up again. Let's show you your big boy bed. Asterisk big boy bed. The euphemism for a prison of plush toys. Asterisk. She carried me upstairs. I scanned the hallway, 3 doors, 1 bathroom, a linen closet. The basement door was at the end, slightly ajar. A dark, narrow slit. Asterisk unlocked. A gullet in the center of the home. Asterisk. When she set me down in my room, I deliberately tripped on the rug. My knees hit the hardwood. The sting was sharp, real. I forced a cry, a thin wailing sound that made Susan drop to her knees. Oh baby, are you okay? Asterisk worth it. Minus 10 for the pain, plus 50 for the distraction. Asterisk. I'm okay, I whimpered. She kissed my forehead. I endured. Sarah appeared in the doorway. She was holding a stuffed bear, a ratty thing with 1 button eye. She held it out, her expression unreadable. What's his name? I asked, in a perfect toddler cadence. She didn't answer. She just stared at me. Her eyes were the same flat gray they had been 8 years ago, when she'd watched them pull my body from the wreckage. Asterisk she knew. She knew. Asterisk. She's a problem I can't solve today. I took the bear. It smelled like dust and old secrets. Susan led me downstairs for a snack. While she was in the kitchen, I stood near the basement door. A faint draft seeped through the frame, cold metallic, smelling of wet stone and sulfur. It wasn't a memory. It was a message. My heart hammered. I forced my breathing to stay shallow, rhythmic. Asterisk they're sniffing the trail, the wardens or their hounds. I have to be faster. Asterisk. I stepped back. The draft vanished. The door was solid wood. Asterisk I will secure the perimeter. I will find the fuse box. I will figure out why the basement is whispering my name. Asterisk. At 2 p.m., Susan tucked me into bed for a nap. The sheets were fresh, the pillows soft, the glow-in-the-dark stars pasted on the ceiling. She began to sing, a lullaby, off-key, her voice cracking on the high notes. Asterisk I faced the pit. I crawled through screaming light. And this is the true test. Asterisk. I lay rigid. My small body trembled with suppressed fury and exhaustion. Every note was a small blade against my soul. She leaned down and kissed my forehead. Sleep tight, my little miracle. Asterisk +50 for not correcting her. +50 for not telling her I crawled through hell for a chance at this. Asterisk. She left. The latch clicked. I tried to rise. My limbs were leaden. The day's emotional tax had drained me. Every forced smile, every calculated stumble, every ounce of effort spent on appearing fragile. I could not lift my head. Asterisk. I am weak. I am 5. I am trapped. Asterisk. But the basement was waiting. I drifted into a light, restless doze. My last conscious thought was a cold, desperate calculation. Asterisk. Tomorrow, the Rayol work begins. My body is weak, but my mind is still a weapon. Asterisk. The stars glowed above me. The house creaked. Somewhere below, something stirred. Asterisk +300 for surviving the lullaby. +500 for not screaming. Asterisk. Asterisk. The cringe is the cage. The cage is the price. Asterisk. Chapter 4. Amateur Hour. The telephone died with a soft, almost polite click. I heard it from the living room floor, where I sat cross-legged with my sippy cup of apple juice. The house had settled into its evening rhythm, David in his armchair with the newspaper, Susan humming in the kitchen, Sarah upstairs pretending to do homework. The window was cracked open, letting in the September cool. Safe. Domestic. Predictable. Asterisk. Except that sound. The telephone line doesn't click like that unless it's cut. Asterisk. I set the sippy cup down. My fingers were too small to form a proper fist, but I curled them anyway. +5 for identifying the intrusion vector early. The back door exploded inward. 3 men in ski masks. One shouted something incoherent. They moved like amateurs, loud, clumsy, overcompensating with violence. The leader carried a chrome revolver. The second held a crowbar. The third was already kicking over a chair. David stood up. What the hell? Sit down, old man, or I'll put you down. Susan screamed. It was a high, thin sound that cut through the room like glass. I watched her hands fly to her face. Asterisk. She's going to be useless for the next 30 seconds. File that. Asterisk. Stay calm, David said, raising his hands. Take whatever you want. The wallet's in my back pocket. The leader laughed. It was the laugh of a man who had done this before and expected it to work. We know. We're not here for your wallet, asshole. Asterisk. Interesting. They have intel on the house. That means they either cased the neighborhood or someone tipped them off about something specific. The safe. The jewelry. Or something else. Asterisk. I remained motionless on the floor. My peripheral vision was mapping the room. The ceramic lamp on the end table, base heavy enough to crack a skull, but too far to reach. The fire extinguisher mounted near the kitchen door, too conspicuous. The floorboard under the armchair that creaked when you stepped on it. The structural weakness of the staircase. The third step from the top had a loose riser. Asterisk. Assets. 1 sippy cup, 1 ceramic lamp, 1 structural weakness. Targets. 3. Threat assessment. Low tactical competence, but firearms change the math. Asterisk. Take the kid upstairs and shut him up, the leader said, jerking his chin toward me. The third man, the one with the crowbar, dropped it with a clatter and stalked toward me. He was big, maybe 200 pounds, with the dead eyes of someone who had stopped caring about consequences years ago. He grabbed my arm and yanked me upright. Asterisk. Good. Separation is an opportunity. Asterisk. Susan cried out. Tommy. Don't hurt him, please. I went limp. My breathing turned ragged. My eyes went wide and wet. Asterisk. The scared toddler mask. Perfect. +20 heaven points for compliance, but only if I sell it. Asterisk. I want mommy, I whimpered. The robber snorted. You're gonna see her in a minute, kid. Move. He dragged me toward the stairs. I stumbled once, twice, letting my feet catch on the carpet. Asterisk timing. Distance. Weight distribution. Asterisk he was pulling me by the left arm, which meant his right side was exposed. His grip was firm but not tight. He wasn't expecting resistance from a 5-year-old. Asterisk +10 for the stumble deception. He's underestimating me. That's the only leverage I have. Asterisk. We reached the top of the stairs. The hallway stretched before us. 3 doors. My bedroom, the bathroom, the linen closet. The robber shoved me toward my bedroom door. Get in there and shut up or I'll. I tripped again. This time I went down hard, catching my knee on the corner of the doorframe. A genuine gasp of pain escaped my lips. *5 for the real hit. But the timing is perfect. Asterisk. He grabbed me again, but I twisted, squirmed, and pulled free for exactly 1 second. In that second, I ducked into the bathroom and slammed the door. What the? I didn't lock it. Too obvious. Instead, I kicked a shampoo bottle into the tub and turned on the faucet full blast. The water roared against porcelain. The robber would hear it and assume I was hiding in the tub, crying. *+15 for misdirection. Now I have maybe 8 seconds. Asterisk. I didn't look at the mirror. I didn't think. I let muscle memory take over. My small hands gripped the edge of the door. I pulled myself up, feet against the frame, using the leverage of my own body weight to climb. It was slow, painful, and absurd. My arms screamed. My fingers burned. Asterisk. I am climbing a doorframe. I am a 5-year-old with the soul of a damned soldier, and I am climbing a doorframe like it's the cliffs of the pit. Asterisk. I reached the top. I hooked my legs over the door's edge and balanced, pressing my back against the wall, arms spread for stability. My heart hammered. My breath came in short, ragged gasps. Asterisk. He'll be through the door in 3 seconds. Don't think about the drop. Think about the kick. Asterisk. The door burst open. The robber stormed in, silhouetted against the hallway light. He didn't see me. He was looking down, scanning the floor, the tub. Where the hell did you? I dropped. I landed on his shoulders, my weight driving him forward. He stumbled, arms flailing. I wrapped my legs around his neck and squeezed. He made a wet, choking sound, reaching up to grab me, but I was already moving. I shifted my grip, planted both hands on his head, and used his own momentum to twist him toward the open door. One precise, cruel move to the back of the knee. I did not have the strength to break bone. But leverage. Leverage I understood. I dropped all my weight onto his leg as he pivoted, and his knee buckled with a sickening pop. He screamed. The scream turned into a gasp as he fell backward, arms windmilling, into the open stairwell. There should be 15 stairs, I thought, watching him tumble. Asterisk. I counted. You'll miss the last one if you don't slow down. Asterisk. The wet crack at the bottom was louder than I expected. It echoed through the house. I landed on the hallway carpet, my knees stinging, my lungs burning. I allowed myself exactly 1 second to breathe. +300 for elimination of a lethal threat. Then I heard Susan scream from downstairs. I dropped to my knees. I forced the air out of my lungs in sharp, ragged sobs. I made my face crumple. I made my voice small and broken. He tripped. I wailed, crawling to the top of the stairs. The bad man tripped. He tripped. Below, the living room went silent. The leader froze, gun half raised. David and Susan stared at the broken body at the bottom of the stairs. The second robber stood near the basement door, his face white beneath the mask. Susan broke first. She ran. She pushed past the leader, who was too stunned to react, and bounded up the stairs. She scooped me into her arms, crushing me against her chest. Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. I buried my face in her neck and let her rock me. My eyes stayed dry, but I made the sounds of crying. I was good at that. But I saw Sarah. She stood at the bottom of the stairs, just behind Susan. Her face was pale. Her eyes were fixed on the body, the twisted neck, the vacant stare. Then she looked up at me. She knows. I met her gaze. I didn't smile. I didn't drop the mask. But I let her see something in my eyes. A flat, predatory stillness that no 5-year-old should possess. She didn't scream. She didn't flinch. Instead, her lips parted slightly. Her hands tightened at her sides. And in her eyes, I saw something unexpected. Recognition. Not revulsion. Not fear. A dark, dangerous spark of understanding. Asterisk, she's not scared of me. She's fascinated. Asterisk. Asterisk, net heaven points for the encounter. Plus 345. Not bad for a 5-year-old. Asterisk. The leader snarled from the living room. Enough of this crap. He grabbed Susan by the hair and yanked her away from me. She screamed, stumbling, and he dragged her toward the basement door. Get the kid. We're finishing this. David lunged, but the second robber caught him with a fist to the jaw. David crumpled. Asterisk -500 if I light this house up with infernal fire. I'd expose myself to the wardens. If I don't, they take her. Hell is patient. Asterisk. I watched the leader drag my mother toward the dark maw of the basement stairs. She reached out to me, her fingers trembling, her eyes wide with terror. I suppose I can be patient, too. I clenched my tiny fist. But not forever. Chapter 5. Marbles and Tripwires. The basement door yawned open, a black throat swallowing the light from the hallway. The leader dragged Susan down the first step, her fingernails scratching against the wood, leaving thin white grooves in the paint. Asterisk 1, 2, 3. The stairs creak at the fourth riser. The light switch is at the bottom. They'll turn it on, clear the room, and then decide whether to kill her or use her as leverage. Either way, I have approximately 4 minutes before this becomes irreversible. Asterisk. David was out cold on the living room floor. Sarah had vanished into the laundry room during the chaos. Asterisk, smart girl, hiding where the shadows pooled. Asterisk, I saw her silhouette through the louvered door, still as a startled deer. I slid off the couch. My bare feet made no sound on the carpet. Asterisk -250 for even considering demonic acceleration. No fire. No shadows I can't explain. Just physics and leverage. I can do this as a child. I have to do this as a child. Asterisk. The telephone cord lay coiled near the base of the stairs, ripped from the wall by the intruders. I took it. My fingers were too small to tie a proper knot, so I looped it twice around the newel post and stretched it taut across the basement doorway, ankle height. Asterisk, stupid fingers. -5 for the delay. Hell's tethers were easier to splice. Asterisk. Then I opened the hall closet and found the marbles. Sarah's prize from the county fair. She'd left them here last summer, a glass jar full of cat's eyes and swirls. I scattered them in a wide arc just past the cord. The glass spheres clicked against the hardwood like tiny patient teeth. A muffled cry from the basement. Susan. The leader was shouting something, but the words were lost in the concrete echo. Time's running. I retrieved my plastic rifle from the toy bin in the corner, a bright orange thing with a broken stock, the kind you'd find at a garage sale for 50 cents. Useless as a weapon. But in the dark, with the right angle and a flashlight, it could cast a shadow that looked very much like a man aiming a shotgun. I grabbed my flashlight from under the couch. The one with the pink bunny sticker Susan had insisted on. Focus. I crept to the basement door and flicked the flashlight on, aimed down the stairs, then off. On. Off. On. A staccato rhythm, the kind a nervous lookout would use. I kept the beam pointed at the wall, letting the shadow of the plastic rifle stretch and warp against the concrete. What the hell was that? The leader's voice. Tight. Strained. Nothing. It's nothing. Just a pipe. That wasn't a pipe. Asterisk good. They're rattled. +10 for psychological warfare. Asterisk. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy. Cautious. This is where the plan breaks or holds. I retreated to the laundry room. Sarah was pressed against the dryer, her knuckles white against the machine's metal skin. When she saw me, her breath caught. Tommy. Sissy. Call the police, please. Don't look. Asterisk my voice was flat, precise, cold. She deserved the truth, even if it terrified her. Asterisk. Her eyes went wide. She looked at me like I was a stranger wearing her brother's skin. Then she nodded once, grabbed the cordless phone from the charging cradle, and began to dial with trembling fingers. Asterisk good girl. You're learning. Asterisk. The basement stairs groaned. The other robber emerged, his silhouette blocking the faint light from below. He stepped onto the cord, tripped, and his momentum carried him forward into the field of marbles. His feet shot out from under him. He hit the floor with a sound like a sack of wet cement. His gun skittered across the hallway and stopped at my feet. Asterisk +50 for the tripwire. +30 for the marbles. Not as satisfying as a throat rip, but the police won't ask questions. Asterisk. I didn't pick up the gun. I didn't need to. Instead, I walked to the fuse box in the hallway and flipped the switch for the basement lighting. The house went black below. The leader shouted, a curse, a question, a threat. I didn't answer. I crept around to the laundry room door and propped it open. Inside, Sarah was whispering into the phone. Yes, 134, Maple Drive. Please hurry. They have my mom. The leader stumbled up the stairs, blind, disoriented. He found the laundry room door and pushed through it. In the dark, he didn't see the chute, the old metal door that hung open at stomach level, leading to the basement. Asterisk timing. Leverage. The body doesn't matter when the mind does the work. Asterisk. I used a heavy box of detergent, Tide, powder, 4 pounds, and swung it like a pendulum. It caught him just below the temple. He crumpled sideways, his weight carrying him into the open chute. He slid down with a muffled metallic groan. *20 for using a laundry product as a weapon. The indignity stings. Asterisk. I dragged a wooden dresser across the door and sealed it shut. The police sirens wailed in the distance. I took the phone from Sarah. My voice shifted instantly, a trembling, high-pitched wail. Please help, bad men. Hurting my daddy. Then I hung up, crawled to the living room, and lay down next to David's unconscious body. I smeared a little dust on my face from the carpet. Asterisk performance art. +50 for commitment. Asterisk. When the officers burst through the front door, they found a scene of inexplicable accidents. 2 bruised, unconscious criminals, a mother weeping in the basement, and a small boy clutching a sippy cup, his eyes wide and glassy. One officer knelt beside me. Hey there, buddy. You okay? I let my lip tremble. I want my mommy. Asterisk +100 for the perfect pitch. The demon hiding in the toddler's soul. Asterisk. Sarah stood in the laundry room doorway, her hands still shaking. She watched me with those searching eyes, seeing the monster beneath the mask. I met her gaze for a fraction of a second, then looked away, letting the officer comfort me. Asterisk net heaven points. +50, tripwire. +30, marbles. +10, psychological warfare. +50, performance art. +100, perfect pitch. -20, laundry detergent. Total. +220. Acceptable. Asterisk. Asterisk the demon isn't in the basement anymore. The demon is right here, drinking apple juice from a cartoon cow cup. Asterisk. I didn't smile. But I let her see the cold, patient truth in my eyes as the officer carried me past her. Asterisk I'm the nightmare they didn't see coming. And I'm not going anywhere. Asterisk. Chapter 6. The Truce. The police left at 4:17 p.m. I watched them go from the living room window, my chubby fingers pressed against the glass, counting the seconds until their taillights dissolved around the corner. *+50 for maintaining the vacant stare. -10 for the moment I let my eyes track the sedan like prey. Susan was on the phone with the insurance company, her voice a strained alto that couldn't quite disguise the tremor. David stood in the kitchen, gripping the counter like a lifeline, staring at the crack in the basement doorframe, the split where the second robber had hammered the wood. Sarah was watching me. She had been watching all day. Through breakfast, through the police interviews, through the moment when the officers had asked me to tell them what happened, and I'd responded with a perfect, trembling recitation of the official story. The bad men came. I was scared. I hid. I don't remember. *+200 for the delivery. The detective bought it. Hell, I almost bought it. Now, with the house quiet and the living room floor still dusted with fingerprint powder, Sarah crossed her arms. Her Nirvana t-shirt hung loose on her frame, the faded logo of a band she'd only discovered because her friend had the cassette. "Mom," she said, her voice flat. "I'm going to take Tommy upstairs for a nap." Susan looked up from the phone, eyes red-rimmed. "That's sweet, honey. You're such a good sister." *+15 heaven points for being perceived as a good sister. I wonder if she'd still get points for luring her demonic brother into a trap. I let Sarah take my hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. I kept my grip loose, my steps unsteady. Up the stairs. Past the bathroom where I'd hidden. Past the landing where the first robber had broken his neck. She pushed open the door to my room and closed it behind us. The silence stretched. "You're not my brother," she said. I sat on the edge of the race car bed. The mattress springs groaned. I didn't answer. "I saw you." Her voice cracked. "At the bottom of the stairs. When that man fell. I saw your eyes." Tactical pause. The question, does she deserve the truth, or another layer of deception? I weighed the options. *+50 for honesty. -100 for potential panic. -200 if she tells the parents. Probability of containment. 40%. "I died," I said. The voice that came out of my mouth wasn't the toddler's whine. It was flat, weary, a voice that had spent centuries screaming in the dark and had run out of octaves. Sarah's face went white. The car crash. 1987. I was 5. I didn't go to heaven. I looked at her. I went to a place that makes the crash look like a vacation. And I didn't get here because I was saved. I crawled out of the trash heap of the universe because I'm too stubborn to stay dead. She was backing toward the door. Her hand found the knob. She didn't open it. "Why are you here?" she whispered. Careful. The truth, but not all of it. Heaven points. I let the words hang. Every time I do something good, protect the family, endure humiliating baby talk, resist the urge to dismember anyone, I accumulate points. Enough points, and maybe I get to skip the return trip. Her eyes were wide, pupils dilated. I could see the gears turning behind them, the slow, painful realization that everything she'd been taught about Sunday school, about sin, about the afterlife, was suddenly, terrifyingly real. Is rock music a sin? I blinked. "I'm serious." Her voice pitched higher. "I have a cassette tape. Pearl Jam. Is that going to send me to hell? What about lying? I lied to Mom about finishing my homework. Is that a one-way ticket? What about Sarah?" She stopped. I took a breath. The effort of maintaining the conversation was draining. My vision was starting to blur at the edges, the 5-year-old brain struggling to process the ancient thoughts. "I need you to do something for me." She was trembling. "What?" "Act as a buffer. Do my chores. Keep the parents off my back. Feed me so I don't have to talk." If you do that, I accumulate points faster. Her face twisted. That's manipulation. Asterisk +10 for her moral clarity. -50 for the truth of it. Asterisk. Yes. And you're going to do it anyway, because if I go back to hell, you'll know exactly what I went through. And you'll wonder if you could have stopped it. Asterisk silence. The kind that eats light. Asterisk. Sarah stared at me. Her jaw tightened. She nodded once, a sharp, desperate movement. Okay. Asterisk +50 for the agreement. -10 for the moral corruption of a 13-year-old. Net gain. A shield. Asterisk. My body chose that moment to betray me. The exhaustion hit like a collapsing ceiling. My vision swam, my limbs went heavy, and I slumped sideways onto the mattress. Sarah caught me. Her hands were shaking as she touched my shoulder. Tommy. Don't call me that. But I didn't have the strength to say it. My eyes were closing. The last thing I saw was her face, pale and terrified, hovering above me like a pale moon. Don't die, she whispered. Please. Asterisk +300 for not dying. +100 for the sentiment. Net. A sister who's more useful alive than dead. Asterisk. By dinner, the transformation was complete. Sarah sat at the table, back straight, fork cutting into a plate of steamed vegetables. She refused the chicken. She asked if there were any charitable deeds she could do after school. Susan and David exchanged glances. Thrilled, baffled. She's just processing, David said, squeezing his wife's hand. I sat in my high chair, sipping apple juice from a plastic cow cup. Sarah caught my eye across the table. Asterisk she knows. She's terrified. And she'll do exactly what I need her to do. Asterisk. Asterisk +500 for the new alliance. -20 for the guilt. Net. Progress. Asterisk. The house was quiet. The basement door remained shut. And I had a 13-year-old ally who was now convinced that every Pearl Jam lyric was a potential descent into damnation. Asterisk I've created a monster. But monsters, at least, are useful. Asterisk. Chapter 7. The Shrink. The waiting room smells like old coffee and the quiet desperation of parents who have accepted that their children are fundamentally broken. I sit in a kiddie chair, a bright blue piece of molded plastic that is, I am certain, a deliberate insult to anyone who has ever held a grudge against the universe. My legs dangle. The floor is 1,000 miles away. This is what 8 years of escape planning, demonic evisceration, and celestial bureaucracy has been reduced to, a waiting room war with a highlights magazine. Susan is filling out paperwork at the reception desk, her handwriting a nervous scroll. David sits beside me, knee bouncing, pretending to read a 3-year-old issue of People. He keeps glancing at me with that look, the one that says I don't know what to do with you, but I'm supposed to love you, so here we are. Sarah stands by the window, arms crossed, radiating the intense paranoid energy of someone who has seen the face of God and found it billing by the hour. Asterisk she's wearing a flannel shirt over a t-shirt that says, Smashing Pumpkins. She didn't wear that yesterday. She must have bought it specifically to test whether her eternal soul was already forfeit. The math is not in her favor. Asterisk. I start mapping the room. Asterisk exit 1. The front door. Unlocked, but Susan will grab me before I clear the threshold. Exit 2. The window behind the receptionist's desk. Single pane, but painted shut. Exit 3. The ceiling tiles. If I could reach them, I could crawl into the HVAC system. I cannot reach them. Asterisk. The receptionist smiles at me. Her teeth are too white. Her eyes are dead. Asterisk she's not a threat. She's a civilian. But I catalogue her face anyway. Force of habit. Asterisk. Across the room, a boy about 6 years old sits with his mother. He's holding a toy dinosaur. He looks at me. I look at him. He sees something in my eyes that makes him look away first. Asterisk plus 5 heaven points for intimidation. -10 for using the 1,000-yard stare on a child. Net. -5. I'm losing this day already. Asterisk. Tommy. Dr. Pendleton stands in the doorway. He's a man in his late 50s, wearing a plaid vest that is trying very hard to signal competence. Wire-rimmed glasses. A receding hairline. Hands that tremble slightly when he gestures. Asterisk. He's an auditor. Not the celestial kind, the mortal kind. He collects data, interprets behavior, files reports. If I fail his test, my parents will lock me away. I will become a case study. I will be dissected in journals. Asterisk. I force a small, frightened nod. Can you come with me, sweetheart? Asterisk. Sweetheart. I have been called worse. I have been called vessel, parasite, and the warden's favorite chew toy. Sweetheart is practically a promotion. Asterisk. I slide off the chair. My legs are unsteady. I let them wobble. The performance begins. The office is a temple of false comfort. A couch that's seen too many tears. A bookshelf filled with titles like The Trauma of Childhood and When Bad Things Happen to Small People. A desk cluttered with papers, a heavy marble paperweight, and a lamp that casts a warm, amber glow. Asterisk. Warmth is a trap. Comfort is a leash. Asterisk. Pendleton gestures to a small chair facing his desk. I climb into it. My feet don't touch the floor. I'm going to hate this man. Your mother tells me you've been through something very difficult, he says, settling into his chair. He folds his hands on the desk. The tremor is more noticeable now. Asterisk. Gambling. His left ring finger is missing a tan line. He pawned his wedding ring. He's still wearing the impression of it, like a scar. Asterisk. Asterisk. The tremor is from withdrawal. He's not a drinker. His nose isn't veined. Caffeine. No, the tremor is too fine. Benzodiazepines. He's been cutting back. Or running out of a prescription. Asterisk. I blink at him slowly. Yes, doctor. The words come out soft, breathy, the voice of a child who has seen too much. Asterisk. Good. It's calibrated exactly right. Asterisk. Can you tell me what happened? Asterisk. I died. I fell through the floor of the universe into a place where the air screams and the walls are made of weeping faces. I crawled out through the garbage chute of creation. Now I'm here in your office, calculating how many heaven points I'll lose if I snap your wrist. Asterisk. Bad men came. I whisper. They hurt my daddy. Pendleton's eyebrow twitches. Asterisk. He's already forming a diagnosis. PTSD. Developmental regression. Possibly conversion disorder. He'll write it up in neat, clinical language. He'll file it away. He'll forget my face by next week. Asterisk. Asterisk. But he won't see the truth. He can't. He's too busy looking for trauma in the obvious places. Asterisk. Tell me about the bad men, he says gently. No. I look at the inkblot cards on his desk. They're stacked in a neat pile, waiting. I'm going to make this session about him. Can we play a game? I ask, pointing at the cards. Pendleton's face lights up with professional interest. You want to look at the pictures? Asterisk. I want to deconstruct your psyche piece by piece. But sure. Let's call them pictures. Asterisk. I nod. They look like clouds. He picks up the first card. It's a symmetrical blot of black ink on white paper, ambiguous and menacing. He holds it up. What do you see in this one, Tommy? I stare at it. Asterisk. I see the soul of a man who hasn't slept in 3 years. I see the shadow of a debt collector standing in his doorway. I see the affair he's been having with a woman named Carla who works in the office 2 floors down. Asterisk. 2 people fighting, I say in my softest voice. They're very angry. One of them has a secret. Pendleton's hand trembles. He sets the card down. Hit 1. What kind of secret? I tilt my head. A secret that makes his tummy hurt when he thinks about it. Pendleton clears his throat. Okay. Let's try another one. Asterisk +10 for psychological warfare. -30 for the pleasure I'm taking in this. Net. -20. I'm going to hell for this. Again. Asterisk. The second card is darker, a mass of shadow and negative space. Asterisk. I see a man who carries a mistress's phone number in his breast pocket. I see a wife who suspects. I see a career built on borrowed time. Asterisk. A bird, I say. A big, black bird. It's flying away from a cage. Pendleton's pen hovers over his notepad. He doesn't write anything. A cage, he repeats. Yes. The bird doesn't want to be there. He's trying to escape, but he keeps flying in circles. He's scared. Pendleton's face is pale now. A bead of sweat trickles down his temple. Hit 2. Can we try a different activity? He asks, his voice straining. I'm not done with you yet. The third card is the killing blow. Asterisk. I see a man who gambled away his daughter's college fund. I see a man who tells himself it's just a phase, just a bad streak, just one more hand. I see a man who knows, deep down, that he is a fraud. Asterisk. A monster, I say, my voice barely a whisper. He's wearing a mask. But underneath, he's not a person anymore. He's something hollow. Something that eats light. Pendleton's pen clatters to the desk. He takes off his glasses and rubs his eyes. Asterisk. The mask is off. He's not the auditor anymore. He's the audited. Asterisk. That's very creative, Tommy, he says, but his voice cracks. Asterisk. +50 for the victory. -100 for the cruelty. Net. -50. I am accumulating debt at an alarming rate. Asterisk. The door swings open. Sarah stands in the threshold, her face a mask of manic intensity. She's clutching a rosary in one hand. Dr. Pendleton, she says, her voice shaking. I have a question. Pendleton blinks at her, still reeling. Sarah, your mother is. It's about mortal sin. Oh, for the love of. She steps into the room, ignoring me entirely. If I stole a lip gloss from the drugstore in 1993, and I never returned it, is that an automatic trip to hell? Or is there a redemption window? Pendleton stares at her, then at me, then back at her. That's not. We're here to talk about Tommy. I need to know, Sarah insists. She's trembling. I've been doing the math. If I donate $20 to charity, does that cancel out the lip gloss? Or do I need a priest? Pendleton's mouth opens and closes. He looks at me. I widen my eyes, projecting pure, innocent confusion. Asterisk. This is not my mess. But I'm enjoying it immensely. Asterisk. Sarah, Pendleton says, his voice strained. I think you should discuss this with your parents. But you're a professional, she counters, stepping closer. You studied the human soul. You must know the theological logistics. If I die tonight, am I going to the bad place? Pendleton looks at me one more time. I smile a tiny, toddler smile. The game is over. He begins to cry. Dr. Pendleton weeps into his desk calendar for a full minute before Susan appears in the doorway, holding a cup of coffee. She takes one look at the scene, the doctor sobbing, Sarah interrogating him about sin, me sitting cross-legged on the floor, coloring a picture of a bunny, and sighs. What happened? Tommy's fine, Sarah says, her voice flat. The doctor had a personal breakthrough. Asterisk +200 for the understatement. -10 for the collateral damage. Net. +190. I'm almost in the green. Asterisk. We leave the office 20 minutes later with a referral for a different therapist and a lollipop I didn't ask for. It's sticky. It's orange. It's stuck to my palm. I hate everything about this. Susan drives with one hand on the wheel, the other reaching back to stroke my hair. You did so well, sweetie. You really opened up. I opened up a man's psyche and left it bleeding on the floor. Sarah sits beside me, whispering urgently. Do you think the receptionists have a nice day, was a divine blessing or a curse? I can't tell. I have created a monster. David is silent, staring out the window. He hasn't spoken since we left the office. He's processing. He'll have questions later. I'll need answers. The car turns onto our street. The house appears, 2 stories of peeling paint and creaking floorboards. The basement door waits inside, patient and hungry. One threat neutralized. Another one waiting. I look at my sticky hand. At my sister's terrified face. At my mother's oblivious smile. The shrink is no longer a threat. Now, I just need to survive dinner. Plus 15 for the session. Minus 40 for the pleasure of breaking a man. Net. Dash 25. I am a good boy. I am a good boy. The car pulls into the driveway. Somewhere in the basement, something stirs. I'll handle it later. For now, I have a lollipop to throw away and a sister to keep out of a convent. Chapter 8. The Auditor. The sedan is wrong before it stops moving. I feel it from the living room rug. A pressure change, a static hum that crawls across my skin like ants. The paint is too white. The windows don't reflect the autumn trees. They show a flat, grey sky that doesn't exist. The engine cuts off mid-cycle. Too clean, no sputter. Ozone. And something else. A psalm sung backward. She's early. Susan wipes her hands on her jeans. Oh, that must be Mrs. Gracefield from Child Protective Services. They want to check on you, sweetie. No, they don't. They want to check if I'm a stain on the timeline. Sarah appears in the hallway, clutching a dish towel like a rosary. Her eyes are wide. Mom, I don't think. Don't worry, honey. It's just a routine visit. Routine. Like an autopsy is routine. I keep my face slack, my juice box pressed to my chest. The doorbell rings. Not a chime, a single flat note that makes the floorboards vibrate. Susan opens the door. Mrs. Gracefield steps inside. She's tall, impeccably dressed in a beige pantsuit, her hair pulled into a bun so tight it seems to stretch her skin. She holds a leather briefcase that glows faintly at the seams, not in visible light, but in the space between shadows. Her smile is a blueprint with no warmth. Mrs. Rourke. Thank you for welcoming me into your home. Her voice is recorded. Rehearsed. There's no breath behind it. Plus 200 for identifying the target before engagement. I have moments to decide how this plays out. She scans the room. Her eyes don't glance. They dissect. She looks at the couch and sees the timeline of every dust mote. She looks at Sarah and sees the fear she's trying to hide. Then she looks at me. I meet her gaze for exactly 1 second. Then I look down at my juice box and suck loudly. Performance. I am a child. I am a child. Gracefield walks through the house like a surgeon. She runs her fingers along the doorframe, pausing at the spot where the robber fell. Her nostrils flare. There's residue here. Non-human. She knows. She doesn't just suspect, she knows. Sarah panics. She darts in front of Gracefield, blocking the hallway. We're very grateful to have Tommy back. We're a good Christian family. We go to church every Sunday. We recycle. I haven't touched any impure thoughts since Tuesday. I want the floor to swallow me. Gracefield stares at Sarah with the same expression I use when I find a dead mouse in the basement. How diligent. She steps past Sarah into the kitchen. I hear her heels click on the linoleum. Susan is in the pantry, looking for snacks. It's just me and the auditor. She crouches to my level. Her knees don't bend right, they fold like an insect's joint. Her smile is a crack in porcelain. Hello, Tom. I say nothing. I suck my juice box. The straw gurgles. She leans closer. Her breath smells of paper and old files. You are an error in the ledger, Tom. I am here to delete the data. Asterisk, she's direct. She's not here to observe, she's here to prune. I have one card left. Asterisk. I tilt my head. I let my eyes go empty. The 1,000-yard stare I perfected in the pit. I speak in a perfect lisping toddler voice, but the words are for her alone. If you take me away, you'll have to tell the big angels about the door you left open in 87. Her smile twitches. And if they look at your records, I continue, still sucking the straw, they'll see that you were the one who left the gate unlocked in 87. Asterisk, I heard a warden whisper about it in the pit, a disgraced auditor who let a soul slip through a crack in the abyss. She was demoted. She was sent to clean up her own mess. Asterisk. Her face goes slack. The ozone scent intensifies until it stings my nose. She struggles to maintain her form. Her edges blur for a millisecond, showing a silhouette of folded wings and too many eyes. Where did you hear that name? Her voice cracks. The bureaucratic mask is gone. I know a song about a spider. Itsy bitsy spider. But not that one, I sing, mimicking a nursery rhyme. Asterisk plus 500 for psychological dominance over a celestial entity. Minus 100 for the pleasure of watching her squirm. Asterisk. She stands abruptly. Her heels click a desperate rhythm as she walks to the kitchen table. She opens her briefcase. The papers inside are blank, but she pretends to write. Her hand shakes. Susan emerges from the pantry with a box of crackers. Everything all right? Gracefield forces a smile. Perfectly fine, Mrs. Rourke. I see no concerns here. Your son is well-adjusted. A miracle of modern psychology. Asterisk, she's lying. She's scared. I won. Asterisk. She closes the briefcase with a snap that echoes. She walks to the door, her movements jerky, like a puppet with tangled strings. At the threshold, she turns. Her eyes lock onto mine. She mouths something. Asterisk. This isn't over. Asterisk. I smile. I wave my sticky hand. Asterisk plus 250 for containing a celestial threat without manifestation. Net. Plus 850. I'm building credit. Asterisk. Sarah collapses onto the couch, hyperventilating. What just happened? What was that? I take a long drag of my juice box. Asterisk, an auditor with a secret. A soul with a price. Asterisk. Susan beams at me. She said you're a miracle. I smile into my sippy cup. Asterisk, a miracle. Or a liability. Depends on the angle. Asterisk. The white sedan pulls away, engine silent. I count the seconds until the ozone fades. Asterisk, she'll be back. They always come back. But for now, I have a nap to pretend to take and a sister to keep from fainting. Asterisk. Heaven points. Plus 850. Asterisk status. Still human. Still hated. Asterisk. Day. Survived. Chapter 9. The clerical error. The basement smells like wet concrete and mildew. I sit cross-legged on the cold floor, my back against the washing machine, watching the angel descend the stairs with the deliberate grace of something pretending to be human. She wears the babysitter disguise now, faded jeans, a lumpy sweater, her hair pulled into a casual ponytail. The costume is almost convincing. Almost. Asterisk, she's trying to blend in. Too late for that. Asterisk. Tommy. Her voice is soft, maternal. A performance for the empty house. Your mom asked me to check on you. Asterisk, she knows I'm alone. She's been waiting for this. Asterisk. I don't answer. I stare at the floor, counting cracks in the concrete. 23. 24. The washer hums its final spin. Her footsteps pause at the bottom of the stairs. The pretense drops. Stand up, anomaly. Her voice hardens, shedding saccharine warmth like shed skin. The writ of termination requires standing. It's a formality, but I'm nothing if not thorough. Asterisk, termination. She means deletion. She means unmaking. Asterisk. I don't stand. I look up slowly, meeting her eyes. They're the color of winter sky. Cold, infinite. Asterisk, brute force is useless. I'm 5. She's a celestial bureaucrat with a grudge and a termination slip. I need a different angle. Asterisk. I hold up my small hand. My voice trembles, a perfect, practiced quiver. Please don't hurt my family. Her hand freezes halfway into her jacket. The parchment rustles, half drawn. I'll go quiet, I continue, letting the tears well. Asterisk, timing. Spacing. The quiver on quiet. Asterisk, just make them forget I was ever here. She stops. Her eyes narrow. The parchment whispers back into her jacket. They don't need to bury me twice. Asterisk, selfless request. That's got to be worth 800 points. Maybe 1,000 if the sobbing was convincing. Asterisk. She stares at me. The silence stretches thick as cobwebs. Explain yourself, child. She crouches, bringing her face to my level. Her perfume is lavender and ozone. Up close, I can see the cracks in her glamour, the faint shimmer of something burning beneath the skin. I've read the file, she says, but files lie. Tell me the sin that truly sent you to the pit. Asterisk, she wants the real confession. She thinks I'm lying about my record. Asterisk. I look down at my hands. They're tiny, pale, fingers too short to wrap around anything properly. I let my shoulders hitch. I called Mommy a poopy head. She blinks. Before the car hit us, I continue, pushing the tremor. She said, I love you. I said, you're a poopy head with stinky socks. The angel's face cycles through confusion, then disbelief, then a dawning, frantic horror I've only ever seen in demons about to be exorcised. She yanks the file from her satchel. The pages flutter as she scans them, lips moving silently. Ezekiel. The scream bounces off the concrete walls. A light bulb shatters overhead. That bureaucratic, caffeine-addled moron. She throws the file at the wall. Pages explode like wounded birds. He misread poopy head as pope head. Asterisk, I knew it. I knew it was a typo. Centuries of fire, rivers of screaming, all because someone couldn't read a toddler's slur. Asterisk. Typed eternal damnation into the wrong drop-down menu. She rakes her hands through her hair. You were never supposed to be there. With a snap of her fingers, the file ignites. Holy fire consumes the pages, leaving no ash, no smoke, just the faint scent of burnt secrets. I stare at the spot where the evidence evaporated. Asterisk, centuries. Torment. The warden's claws. The screaming walls. All because of a keyboard error. Asterisk. A single tear rolls down my cheek. Not a performance. Not manipulation. Asterisk, I'm a typo. I'm a regrettable keystroke. Asterisk. The angel kneels. Her mask of cold perfection cracks, revealing something tired and terrified underneath. Listen, soldier. She grips my shoulders. Her touch is warm, almost human. I'll scrub the logs. I'll bury this so deep even the seraphim won't find it. She leans closer. Her whisper is sharp as a blade. But if you ever tell anyone I let a demon off the hook for a clerical error, I'll staple your soul to a filing cabinet for a millennium. Clear. I nod. My neck feels stiff. The tears are drying. Estimated heaven points for enduring that explanation without attempting a decapitation. Plus 10,000. But I'm keeping a running total, just in case she changes her mind. She stands. Straightens her sweater. Adjusts her ponytail. The cracks seal. The mask reforms. I was never here, she says. This conversation never happened. You're just a traumatized little boy who survived a car crash. Technically true. Technically not. She walks up the stairs. Her footsteps are light, casual, already rehearsing the everything's fine, she'll tell my mother. I stay on the basement floor. The washer clicks, finishing its cycle. The water drains with a hollow gurgle. I look at my reflection in the dusty mirror propped against the wall. A pale child with dark circles. A face that doesn't match the years inside. I'm not a demon. I touch the glass. My finger leaves a smudge. I'm not a saint. The boy in the mirror stares back, unblinking. I'm a mistake. I stand, brushing dust off my knees. My legs are stiff from sitting too long. And mistakes are the hardest things to correct. I walk up the stairs, one short leg at a time, toward the sound of my mother calling me for a snack. Heaven points. Unknown. Possibly infinite. Possibly zero. Status. Free. Anomalous. Alive. Day. Still counting. Chapter 11. The Recruitment. The sandbox is my sanctuary. It's a sad, sun-bleached rectangle at the far end of the yard, ringed by dandelions and the ghosts of lawn furniture. My mother bought it when Sarah was 3. Now the wood is splintered, the plastic lining cracked, and the sand is seeded with cigarette butts from the previous owner's tenants. It's perfect. I sit in the center, knees tucked under me, my small fingers working the grit with the precision of a sculptor who has had centuries to practice. The sand is wet from last night's rain. Packed, cooperative. I am building the 9th circle. Not a child's castle. No turrets, no flags, no moat with a plastic alligator. I am recreating the frozen lake of Cocytus, complete with the 3-headed giant at the center, his wings carved from twigs and his jaws from crushed stone. The damned are pebbles arranged in concentric rings, each positioned at the precise angle of eternal despair. Plus 10 for fine motor control. Plus 5 for not having a breakdown when my pinky cramped. I hear her before I see her. The grass doesn't bend. The air doesn't stir. But there is a faint, subsonic hum, like a fluorescent bulb trying to remember how to scream. Then the shadow falls across me, long and thin. Thomas. I don't look up. I know the voice. It's the sound of a bureaucrat trying to sound warm, like a dentist offering a lollipop before the drill. Gracefield stands at the edge of the sandbox, framed by the fence. She's dressed in an aggressively beige sweater vest, her hair pulled back so tight it looks like it's trying to escape her scalp. She's smiling. It doesn't reach her eyes. It barely reaches her mouth. You're supposed to be inside, I say, not bothering to modulate my voice. My mother is in the kitchen, making lunch. Sarah is upstairs, presumably praying to a god she now knows exists. The window above the sink is open, and the scent of tuna casserole drifts down. I have exactly until the timer rings. Gracefield's smile flickers. She glances toward the house, then back at me. Your mother thinks I'm your new aunt. She's making me a sandwich. I told her I wanted to say hello. Lies, I say, still shaping the ice crust. You want something. She steps into the sandbox. Her shoes, black, sensible, the kind a librarian would wear to a funeral, sink into the wet sand. She doesn't seem to care. She squats down to my eye level, her knees cracking in a way that is almost human. I want to make you an offer. I pause. The twig in my hand hovers over the statue of the three-headed giant's left eye. I look up at her. Her face is a mask of plastic calm, but I see the tremor in her jaw, the way her fingers dig into her palms. She's nervous. Good. I'm listening, I say. She takes a breath. When she speaks, her voice is lower, stripped of the maternal pretense. I've been reassigned. Temporarily. The Department of Suburban Threat Neutralization has a vacancy. We need someone on the ground. Someone who understands the local geography. I stare at her. She can't be serious. You want me to work for heaven? Provisional. Off the books. You handle the rogue entities that slip through the cracks, the ones too minor for a full audit, too dangerous to ignore. In return, you gain something I cannot give you otherwise. She pauses, letting the words hang in the air. Agency. I keep my face blank. Inside, I am calculating. Asterisk plus 50 for the offer. Minus 200 for the sheer audacity. Asterisk. Why me? You could snap your fingers and erase half the neighborhood. Her smile turns brittle. Because if I snap my fingers, the seraphim notice. And if the seraphim notice, they'll ask questions. Questions about a certain filing error. Questions about a 5-year-old who should be burning. She leans closer. Her breath smells like ozone and old paper. You're not a cleanup job, Tom. You're a liability. But you're also a resource. I go back to my sandcastle. I'm adding a moat, not of water, but of broken glass pebbles, each one representing a lost soul. What's the salary? Heaven points. Standard field rate. Plus hazard pay. I laugh. It's a small, dry sound, completely inappropriate for a 5-year-old. Heaven points can be wiped out by a clerical error. I've seen the ledgers. I've been the error. Counting on a system that can lose a soul in a drop-down menu is like asking a drowning man to trust the lifeboat made of his own regrets. Her eyes narrow. What do you want? I finish the ice crust. The surface gleams, wet and cold. I set down the twig and look up at her, meeting her gaze with the flat, unblinking stare I learned in the pit. Access. She blinks. To what? The celestial archives. I want the clearance to view the ledger where my own fate is recorded. I want to see the exact entry. The exact timestamp. The exact keystroke that sent me down. I keep my voice soft, childlike, but the words cut like glass. Can I have the keys, Gabby? She recoils. The name, her name, the one I'm not supposed to know, hits her like a slap. Her mask cracks, and for a moment I see the exhausted, terrified creature underneath. The fallen angel who filed into the wrong department. The bureaucrat drowning in her own mistakes. That's not possible, she whispers. Then we have nothing to discuss. I turn back to my sandcastle. I begin carving the chains around Lucifer's legs, each link a tiny, perfect crescent. The silence stretches. The timer in the kitchen hasn't gone off yet. I have time. Gracefield doesn't leave. She stares at the sandcastle. She stares at the intricate geometry of suffering, the frozen lake, the damned arranged with geometric precision. She is not looking at a child's toy. She is looking at a blueprint. You built the 9th circle, she says, her voice hollow. I know it by heart. You could build anything. You could. I did, I say, not looking up. I spent years memorizing every corridor, every seam, every crack where the architecture bleeds. Heaven is not my home, Gabby. Hell is my home. And I am the only one who knows exactly how it was built. She is silent. Her jaw works. Her hands tremble. I look up, letting my eyes go flat and cold. You think I'm working for the light because I'm afraid of the dark. You think I'm a scared little boy who wants to earn his way into paradise by fighting monsters. You're wrong. I pick up a pebble, one of the damned. I hold it up to the light. I'm not a soldier. I'm an architect. And if you give me access to the archives, I can teach you how to build something that even the seraphim can't tear down. I can patch your leaks. I can fix your mistakes. I can make sure that the next clerical error ends up in the right file. She stares at me. Her face is unreadable. Then she laughs. It's a short, desperate sound, almost a sob. You're blackmailing a celestial being. Again. I'm negotiating, I say. You need a field agent. I need insurance. Give me the archives, and I'll clean your messes. Refuse, and I'll become one. She looks at the house. The timer inside has not yet rung. She looks at the sandcastle. She looks at me. You're a demon, she says. I'm a mistake, I reply. And mistakes are the hardest things to correct. But they're also the easiest to exploit. She reaches into her pocket. She pulls out a small leather-bound notebook. Not human, I can tell. The pages smell of eternity. She flips it open, scribbles something, tears out a page. She holds it out to me. Provisional access. Valid for 1 rotation. If you break the terms, I will personally file a termination request. I take the page. It's warm. It glows faintly. I fold it and slide it into the pocket of my overalls. Pleasure doing business, I say. She stands. Her knees crack. She brushes the sand off her skirt with trembling hands. I will send your first assignment tonight. Standard procedure. Keep your parents out of it. She turns and walks toward the house. Her movements are jerky, inhuman. She begins to whistle, Amazing Grace *, the tune nervous, off-key, completely unangelic. I watch her go. The sandcastle waits. I pat the moat of broken pebbles, adjusting the angle of one of the damned. *plus 500 for the negotiation. Minus 100 for the moral compromise. Net. Plus 400. Not a bad morning. Asterisk. I stand, brushing the sand of the 9th circle off my tiny knees. My legs are stiff. My hand aches from the sculpting. I am exhausted by the effort of being human. But I have the page. I have the keys. Asterisk. They think I'm working for the light because I'm afraid of the dark. They think I'm a scared little boy who just wants to be good. Asterisk. They have no idea. I walk toward the house. The screen door squeaks. My mother calls out, Tommy, lunch is ready. I step inside. The smell of tuna casserole fills the kitchen. Sarah is setting the table, her hands shaking. Gracefield sits at the counter, sipping something that smells like burnt sage. She doesn't meet my eyes. I climb into my booster seat. Status. Recruited. Status. Still a mistake. Status. Still counting. I pick up my spoon. I smile my innocent smile. What's for lunch, Mommy?